attending the post-sentencing press conference of the Bradley Manning Support Network. We're going to have three people say very brief words. We know you're not here to listen to us. I want to start off with introducing Colonel Ann Wright, U.S. military, retired former State Department diplomat. Ann Wright.
U.S. Army officer, 29 years in the U.S. military, and a former U.S. diplomat who resigned 10 years ago in opposition to the war in Iraq. I appreciate very much people who are willing to stand to our government when they see that there are crimes being committed in the name of our government, to be able to say to the American people, I know what's going on. A person like Bradley Manning is that type of person who's revealed things that our government was doing that we as the public needed to know. I'm distressed very much that this young man has to go to jail for revealing these things that we needed to understand. I appreciate very much what the defense team has done, and the appellate process will be a very important one for Bradley Manning. Thank you.
Our support network believes one more day in prison for Bradley is injustice. And today we found out the extent of that injustice. Colonel Denise Lynn sentenced Bradley today to 12,775 days in prison. Bradley was mistreated illegally, even according to her, at Quantico Marine Base. She gave him 112 days of credit for that torture-like condition. That is less than 1% of the sentence that the same judge gave. What is the deterrent to the military for torturing a military service member as long as they can win, or they believe they're going to win, a lengthy sentence? And that's deeply troubling. I myself was a Marine, corporal, refused to go to Rock court-martialed, and I know the benefits of having public support. People rally to your defense and having a first-rate legal team. And I believe our campaign on Bradley's behalf has been a representation of that. Millions of people coming together, 22,000 people contributing funds so we can hire the legal team of Bradley's choosing. And his choice was David Coombs. Over the last 3.5 years since I signed the third-party agreement to guarantee his representation, at a time when I had about $150 in the bank, we raised $1.4 million to defend Bradley. And the money that's gone to David Coombs has been a bargain. He's worked far beyond, for years on this case. Anybody who thinks that Bradley is simply a passenger on this trip was not paying attention. In retrospect, Mr. Coombs was absolutely the best representation I could have imagined for Bradley Manning. Hundreds of us engaged in civil disobedience to get him released in Quantico. Thousands have marched in the streets. We've sent over 100,000 letters to Pentagon officials. 1 million people have signed petitions. And now we're faced with a new phase of our campaign. We will simply not give up. Bradley will not spend 35 years in prison. David Coombs was right in us next. And our support network will be financially and literally at his back, as he tells you that. I want to introduce a representative from Amnesty International, who will be a partner in the next phase of our campaign on behalf of Bradley Manning.
Thank you, Jeff Patterson. Good afternoon. My name is Noreen Shah. I'm Advocacy Advisor with Amnesty International USA. Amnesty International is calling for the United States to commute Private Manning's sentence to time served and to allow for his immediate release. Bradley Manning acted on the belief that he could spark meaningful public debate on the costs of war, including the U.S. military's conduct in Iraq and in Afghanistan. His prosecution and this sentence are another sign of the U.S. government's misplaced priorities. while torturers go free, while the United States has refused to investigate credible allegations of torture and other crimes under international law, they have chosen to prosecute Bradley Manning instead of focusing on these abuses committed during the war on terrorism. Bradley Manning reasonably believed that he was revealing evidence of human rights violations. For the U.S. government to prosecute and sentence him to so many years after putting him in conditions that a UN expert has called inhuman and degrading and humiliating treatment is a sign of injustice. And we will work with the Bradley Manning Support Network to pressure the U.S. government to commute his sentence. Thank you very much.
Supporters file in behind Mr. Coombs. Pack it in tight all the way to the wall, folks. All right, we got another 20 people. Huh?
We're ready to drum.
Jeff, do we want 2 lines?
Keep on coming in.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Over the past few months, as you know, I've been representing PFC Bradley Manning in the military court-martial. And that representation has involved an unprecedented charge, really. A charge which was aiding the enemy for a simple act of providing information to you, journalists. That's what resulted in an aiding the enemy offense. Under the current administration, an unauthorized leak to the media of classified information is viewed as being tantamount to aiding the enemy. The government-wide crackdown on whistleblowers and the extension of this crackdown to journalists threatens to stifle the flow of information that is vital to our public. And it's vital for information that we not only have a need to know, but oftentimes have a right to know. While we were successful in avoiding the aiding the enemy offense, the fact that the government pursued this offense, the fact that the government let this offense go forward even after it was clear there was no evidence of any intent to do so, should sound an alarm to every journalist. It should sound an alarm to every concerned citizen. The case of United States v. Bradley Manning is a watershed moment in history for freedom of the press. We need to decide what freedoms and individual rights we are willing to give up in the name of national security. And we've heard a lot recently from the Obama administration about oversight. We've been told to trust that the oversight mechanisms that are within the executive branch are striking an appropriate balance. We've been told that they know what is in the public's interest to know, as opposed to what is national security and cannot be revealed. You have to ask yourself, is the government striking an appropriate balance? The ultimate role of oversight in America has always belonged to the American people. And it is only to the extent that the American people can be informed as to these matters that oversight works at all. And there are too many things we do not know about our national security apparatus. We don't know how it works. We don't know the extent of its reach. And in order to close this gap, we need a free and vibrant press. We need members of the press who are not potential subjects of criminal investigation for receiving information, which is their very job to do as watchdogs of our government. In order to close this gap, we need whistleblowers like PFC Manning. People who are not afraid to stand up and speak the truth, and to risk their freedom for the ability to keep us informed. In order to close this gap, we need a public that cares. We need a public that is concerned about what is happening. We need all of these things because, make no mistake about it, the cancer of overclassification is threatening the very fabric of our free society. Overclassification hinders debate. It hinders what we know about our government. It hinders finding solutions to common problems, and that is, how do we keep our way of life in a post-9/11 world? P.F.C. Manning was one of the brave Americans who was not willing to remain silent. Instead, he decided to provide us with information that he believed would spark reforms, would spark debate,